Scott Weaver, welcome to Small Town Voices. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Of course, thank you so much for being here. Well, we all know that you are one of our commissioners. You're the chairman, right?
Yep, right now.
Can you tell me what that job entails and how you got to having to being in that role?
I've always wanted to be a county commissioner from the time I was out of high school.
Why?
Um, I guess I'm not able to answer that question because at this point I wonder why. But I have a great time. I love it. The part that I love the most is just being able to help the communities, form the communities. Like the fair, the work that we do with the fair. I love working with the kids and all of the activities that belong to the fair, and then just the everyday stuff. As a county commissioner, it's very interesting. A lot of budgets, and I'm a numbers guy, and I love working those out.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. Out of high school, you wanted to be county
Yes.
commissioner?
Yep. I knew some county commissioners where I grew up, and I always looked up to them and felt, man, that'd be kind of cool someday.
Wow,
And here I am.
that's really
Yep.
interesting. Well, can you tell me a little bit of, you talked a little briefly about this, but what all your job entails? Like, what's,
Primarily, our job is to make sure that fiscally, budget wise, our county is run to the most efficient we can make it, and make the most of the taxpayers' money. Whether it's working with roads or with the fair, just about anything. That's what we're tasked for. A lot of people think that the county commissioner has a whole lot of power over all kinds of different things, and realistically, we do not. We actually only have 3 employees within the county, and those employees hire other people to supervise the departments and those types of things, and so we don't have a whole lot of foresight over the daily operations other than the budget.
yeah. Wow, interesting. Because I feel like that is something people think when they hear county
You bet.
commissioner. It's they have all the power, they control what's going on in the county, and
You bet.
it's really not it.
The commissioners that are with me right now, we've all made it a point, and the commissioners before me that I kind of grew up underneath. Um, we've always made it a point that we don't get involved in the day to day operations. We allow the people that we've hired, and we trust them with those daily operations. And unless we need to get involved, we just don't get involved. And unfortunately, sometimes we do have to get involved, and that's never fun, but it's part of the job. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, can you tell me what are some of the biggest issues you are currently working on in Yuma County?
There's actually several that are impacting Yuma County, and I'll start with water. Water is probably our most precious resource out here,
Absolutely.
and there's a lot of issues with that we're losing water. Our aquifers are obviously dropping, but we've got to irrigate. That's what allows us to do what we do out here in this area. Probably another topic that's kind of been big at hand here lately is renewable energy.
Yeah, that has been a big one.
And the renewable energy piece, we do not have any at this time renewable energy on a commercial level within Yuma County. But we have been working with wind companies and our land use code for over 25 years. And we think that we've got it perfected. But at the same time, we're always looking at ways to change that to make it more efficient, to make it more palatable for everyone. Our first concern with the land use code is the safety of the people. And the second, just as important as the first, is the landowner rights. Allowing people out here, farmers, ranchers, landowners, to do the things they need to do with their land to make the money that they need to make. And so that's been kind of a forefront issue here. And it probably tops water once in a while, probably more than it should. But water needs to be at our top. But right now, we're working with the renewable energy issues.
Can you tell me about what renewable energy is? For those who don't know, can you tell us kind of what it means?
Yeah, there's all sorts of renewable energy. The two that we're probably more focused on right now is wind and solar projects. Um, we have approved two solar projects in Yuma County. One of them is actually between here and Kit Carson County. It's on the county line down there. Very little of it's going to be in Yuma County. Most of it's going to be in Kit Carson County. We also approved, I think, 3 years ago now, a solar farm north of Yuma. They have not done anything with it. They have not started construction. There's all kinds of things that they have to go through to get to the point where they can start construction. So we're still waiting on a lot of that. And I'll be quite frank, I don't know that it's ever going to happen. But they have the permit, able to start getting us information and then construction. So the other thing is the wind companies. There have been many wind companies come in here and talk to landowners. There's a lot of land that's being leased up from landowners for the availability of wind towers. There has not been a company formally come to us and ask if they can put in a wind project. The first wind project, I think, happened, or they asked about, almost 25 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And that never came to fruition. That some of those land leases are actually coming due now, and so that's behind us. But there's a lot down south, a little bit south of Ray, Joe's, Kirk area, that they're getting a little active, and we're starting to hear more. But formally, they have never came to us and said, "Hey, we want to do this." That process takes a couple years. Even once they come to us, it takes more than a couple years, depending on what types of things they have to do to adjust to our code. But our code was enacted many years ago, and it's prior to the 25 years ago, to take care of the wind and solar issues. And there's all kinds of issues. One of the main issues is decommissioning, and decommissioning really talks about what happens when that wind tower is done, served its useful life, what happens to it. And decommissioning is a piece that, hey, we're going to remove it, we're going to take it from the county, and we're going to put that land back to where it was supposed to be. So that's a piece of our code. There's many elements to the code, as far as safety, setbacks, those types of things. And I think probably one of the most important things right now that's going on and bringing up a lot of conversation is setbacks. We did have one of the companies come in and ask us to increase or decrease our setbacks. Our setbacks right now are two times the height, and that's from any homes, county roads, those types of things. There's a little bit of variance in there, but what they've come and asked us to do, and they've asked the Planning Commission to do, and I'll explain that a little bit. Yeah. They've asked the Planning Commission to drop that down to 1.1. So to explain the process on how they do that, in Yuma County, actually in every county, any type of land use change has to go in front of the Planning Commission first. And that's a group of people that we've selected to look at that code and look at the projects coming in and see if those projects fit that code and make sure that they adhere to that code.
Absolutely.
And so once the Planning Commission says, you know what, guys, I think this looks good, then it comes to the county commissioners. And what we do is we listen to the recommendation of the Planning Commission. We also study it and look at it, how it's affecting the landowners, the citizens of Yuma County, and how it applies to the code, how the code applies to them, and make sure. And so that's what we did during the solar projects. Is there was a couple things that they didn't quite fit the code like they should have, so we made some stipulations. And some of those times, sometimes those stipulations are tough. and so that's part of why they haven't done anything. So they got quite a bit of homework to do themselves. But with what's happened here lately, with these companies wanting us to drop our setbacks, what that does is it allows the landowners and these companies to put more towers in spaces. And one of the things you'll find that all of us county commissioners and the code really helps us with is to allow the landowner to do what he needs to do with his land to be able to make the money that he needs to make. We are all for property rights. You know, if you own a piece of property, within reason, is within safety reasons, you should be able to do what you want to do.
Absolutely.
And so we try very hard not to get into that realm of it, but we always have to be mindful of that piece of it. The other part's the safety part. So when we're looking at setbacks, our concern is okay, if a tower is 800 foot tall and we only have it at 1.1 setback, when that thing falls over, is it going to hit anything? Is something going to break off and go through a house or those types?
Cattle out there?
Is there cattle out there? Is what is going on in that surrounding?
Yes.
So we're looking at that really heavily, and we've probably been in these conversations for about 6 to 8 months, and so we're taking it pretty seriously. We have had the Yuma County Planning Commission has had 2 public meetings to discuss this and allow people to come in, give us their feedback. We've been very open about it. We've been because what we want to do is we want to hear what the public has to say.
And what are some pros and cons that they talk about, that their concerns?
The landowners or the
public,
community?
The community.
Well, there's quite a few concerns with wind energy, but concerning to do with the setbacks, kind of like I just talked about. What if it falls over and hits things? What if, even though you're 1.1 height away from that, is a blade going to break off and go through a house? So that's probably their main concern with setbacks. I could go into all kinds of different hours of what there are other concerns about. But our code, I would encourage everybody to look at our code, because our code covers a lot of what most people's concerns are. And the commissioners right now and the past commissioners have been very diligent about making sure that code fits and helps everyone.
Where can they find that code? Where can we go?
If you go on to yumacounty.net, under the planning department, it is underneath that.
Everybody listening, go check that out.
Yeah, it's a very long document, very long and very in depth. But there are sections that you can read and help you understand that. The other thing is don't ever hesitate. If you got a question about the code, call the courthouse. They'll get you a hold of us. And I love talking about the code. I know the code very well. So it's something I'm very familiar with. So.
Wow, that sounds like, and I've been seeing a lot on the news. It's concerning a lot of people, the renewable energy subject. It's a very sore subject for a lot of people. So I'm really glad that you are educating the public on it.
You bet. Now, we talk about the citizens, the pros and cons. We talk about the landowner, the pros and cons. The landowner's pros is it gives them the ability to put something on their property that they can make money with. I don't know that there's very many cons for the landowner that's going to have those. Yeah. If there are those cons, I'm not quite sure of them. You never hear about that part of it. I guess the cons are what neighbors think, and that's tough. That's really tough, because we can't really get into the spot where we're telling our neighbors what they should and shouldn't be doing. Yeah. And so that makes it real tough. And along with this setback conversation, I think a lot of people, there's so much misinformation out there. And we take this pretty seriously. And I do a lot with the state of Colorado through Colorado Counties Incorporated. And so I get involved in all the legislative issues. And one of the issues that we've had to do with land use code over the last 2 years, and I know they're going to try it. I've already been told they're going to try it again on the third year. And I think they're going to try it until they get it. But we're going to fight for it. But you talked about the duties
Yes.
of a commissioner. We talked about fiscal. The other main duty is us to protect the citizens, and we do that through that land use code. So it's very important to us. But what has happened here lately is there's been so many counties that do a little bit of pushback. Hey, we don't want renewable energy, but the state of Colorado is in a position where they're requiring counties to start looking at this stuff. And it's not just a requirement at this point. I think what's going to happen is they're going to want to take over the code. And the last two legislative sessions, they have introduced bills that luckily have not passed that allows the state, especially with renewable energy topics, it would allow the state to come in, negate our code for those, and then institute their own code, which in essence would be taking away our ability to protect citizens, protect landowners, protect all of those folks. And so what the state's wanting to do is, hey, you guys aren't playing in the sandbox like we want you to. You're not doing the things that we expect you to do.
That we want you to do.
And that we want you to do. And so we're going to come in and we're going to take over your code. And it is no longer Yuma County land use code. It is now the state land use code. That's one thing we do not want to happen.
Because if we use the state, I mean, usually the state of Colorado is thinking about the bigger cities, not the small towns. So that would just mess up our whole community.
You bet. Well, in the topic of wind energy or renewable energy, what they're wanting is to use our property to benefit electric prices on the Front Range, and there won't be very much of the power that's generated here with wind towers or solar that's going to stay here. It's all going to go back to the Front Range to help build more homes. And so that's why the state has so much interest in that. They want to take it over, and they want to be the boss. And so we're very nervous about that. And that's why we've taken this setback conversation very serious. Because if we don't play in the sand and try to figure out where we need to be, where we need to mesh to make everybody happy, which is very hard.
Absolutely.
It's very hard. If we hold our guns and say, you know what, we're not changing, we don't want it. This is where we're at. The state will come in and they'll say, okay, we gave you your chance. Now we're going to take away your code and you're going to use our code and you guys have no say. And so we're very worried about that. And that's some of that misinformation that I wish more people knew and more people really took it to heart, because when the state says something like that, they're serious. And if they ever come in and take our code away from us, we will never get it back. And so it makes us very nervous. And so that's why we've promoted so much of this conversation and helping the public understand. Unfortunately, you have a meeting and you post it, and we did all kinds of Facebook advertising for these meetings. And there wasn't as many people as I thought would be at these meetings. There wasn't as many people as I wished would have been at these meetings. And so we have gotten a huge amount of letters addressed to us in the Planning Commission saying, hey, you guys need to leave this alone, without knowing all the information.
Yeah.
And I think the state is that one piece of information that people really need to realize. We're not three county commissioners sitting in there and trying to decide, okay, how can we mess all this up, and how can we do this and not do this. We have guidelines also, and we also have unfortunately, and I don't even consider myself a politician, but by legal definition, I am a politician. Um, I don't like the political pieces of it because we have to understand what the state is capable of doing and what they may do if we do not look at these, at least look at these setbacks
Yeah.
and figure out what we're going to do with them.
No, and I think it's great that you're trying to educate the public because they probably don't know a lot of the things that you're telling me. And honestly, if this state comes in and takes that code, it's gonna ruin Yuma County as we know it.
It is because you can see what's happened in the Front Range in many different areas. Unfortunately, they don't mess with the Front Range for wind towers. I think they're putting a lot of solars up there, but nobody up there wants wind towers, so they don't put them up there. Boy, we got all kinds of land out east. Let's put them out there. So that's why we have to be very vigilant and make sure that we're protecting both the landowner and the citizens. So,
and what are some what protections are currently available for the private landowners?
the private landowner is allowing them to do what they want to do.
So if they don't want a wind tower in their house, in their property, they're not getting a wind tower.
And that where that starts is a lot of these wind companies go around and they talk to landowners. Hey, we'd love to do this on your land. We're going to pay you a certain amount of money to lease your land and allow us to do that. Now we've gotten quite a few landowners that say, yeah, you know what? I like that. We've had quite a few landowners that say, no, I don't want wind towers on my property. And that protection that you ask about, that's the ability to say yes or no. And to be able to say that and not have to worry about it, because it's just like when the hog farms came in many years ago. Some of those landowners really wanted them, and some landowners didn't. And so we had those protections for the ones that really wanted it. Okay, you want it. These are the guidelines that these guys have to follow. And so at the same time, what we're doing is protecting the other landowner that doesn't want those with some of those guidelines. Unfortunately, you don't get to make everybody happy, but you got to find that happy medium where we're able to have the solar farms or the hog farms or the dairy, whatever we're talking about, coexist with the other people that don't want them.
Yeah.
And so we have to come out and do that equalization to help everybody understand and help mitigate any issues that may be caused by one or the other. And that's what that land use code does.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people should go investigate more because they think, oh no, the state's just gonna force it over here and it's all gonna go down.
Yep.
And it's not really, it doesn't work that way, at least not yet.
Not yet.
So yet,
no, but there's a micro piece to that where I've actually been told, you guys are just going to force this on us, and you haven't informed the public. You never had any meetings. You never did any of that. Well, we did, and so that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to be here is to let people know that this is something we take very seriously. We've advertised the heck out of it, and we've been very, very proactive. We still have not made a decision. To be honest with you, we haven't even heard from the Planning Commission on what their thoughts are yet. I have heard that they're meeting next Tuesday, I think it is. See, we don't get to be involved in the Planning Commission meetings because it finally comes to us at some point. So they're going to be discussing that again next Tuesday night. I don't know if they're going to come up with a decision or not, but it has to go through that process. And all of our meetings are open. Anybody can attend them. They can all look at the agendas. They're all posted online. And if it's talking about wind towers and you're concerned, come on down. We invite people because we love to hear what the folks have to say.
It's a community. That's what a community is all about.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Weaver, for being here and for educating us on this subject. Very sore subject, but
you bet.
People need to hear it.
All right.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
If anybody has any questions, be sure to call the courthouse and they'll hook you up to one of our commissioners.
You bet.
Thank you so much.